There are words that do not merely describe life, they command life. Words that do not ask, but declare. Words that do not beg, but create. And tonight, I tell you this, within the spoken word lies the very blueprint of your destiny. From the very beginning of time, creation itself responded to the word. The universe was not built by chance, but by command. Let there be light. And there was light. In the same way, your world is shaped, moment, by what proceeds from your lips. There exists one sentence, one vibration, one declaration so charged with divine authority that when spoken in faith, it calls forth wealth immediately. Why? Because wealth is not merely coins or paper. Wealth is not locked in a vault. Wealth is living energy, a frequency of divine supply, and it rushes to meet the one who dares to speak with certainty. But listen carefully. This sentence does not work when spoken in doubt, in fear, or in hesitation. It responds to conviction. It answers to faith. Faith is the invisible currency that wealth cannot resist. When you speak with faith, you do not plead with life, you command life. Think of it this way. A king does not beg for his throne, nor does the sun apologize for its shining. In the same manner, you must speak the words of abundance with royal certainty, knowing they are law, knowing they are truth. What stands in the way? Only one thing, resistance, that inner voice of lack, that whisper of I cannot, I don't deserve, it's too hard. Cast it out. For as long as you entertain poverty, thinking, you slam the doors of supply. But when you align your words with belief, when you speak as though the wealth is already here, the doors swing wide open. Wealth rushes toward the bold, the expectant, the grateful. Speak it, live it, walk in it. Let your very posture declare, I am abundance made visible. And then, the universe has no choice but to mirror it back to you in opportunities, in prosperity, in overflowing good. And so, I give you this sentence, the one that unlocks the gates of wealth, the one that commands money, opportunities, and success to appear in your path. I am one with the infinite supply, and money comes to me in perfect ways, under grace, immediately and abundantly. Say it as law, not as hope. Say it as truth, not as a wish. Each word is a key, and as you speak, the lock turns, the gate opens, and wealth flows freely into your life. Stand tall, speak boldly, live expectantly. The wealth you seek is already seeking you. With this one magical sentence, you command it into your hands now. Words are not merely sounds that fall from the lips or symbols scribbled upon paper. They are living forces, carrying within them the creative energy that shapes destinies, circumstances, and realities. When we speak, we release vibrations into the unseen, and these vibrations ripple outward like waves across a still pond, touching everything in their path. Each word carries a tone, a frequency, and a power that reaches far beyond the ear of the listener. The ancients understood this truth, declaring that in the beginning was the Word, and that Word carried the authority of creation itself. What was spoken became form. What was declared became law. Even now, every sentence uttered by human beings either builds or destroys, heals or wounds, elevates or diminishes. Consider the way a simple phrase can change the entire course of a person's day. When someone hears words of encouragement, you are capable, you are strong, you can do this, a light ignites within them, their energy shifts, their confidence rises, and suddenly they find themselves capable of more than they imagined moments before. On the other hand, when words of criticism or doubt are spoken, you will fail, you are not enough, you will never succeed. The spirit shrinks, the energy dims, and the path ahead feels heavy. This is not coincidence. Words are containers of energy, and the listener receives that energy directly into the mind, where it multiplies and creates results. But the power of words is not limited to conversations with others. It extends most powerfully to the words spoken within ourselves. The inner dialogue that repeats daily forms the foundation of our beliefs attitudes, and actions. The mind, like fertile soil, accepts every seed that is planted, whether positive or negative, and eventually brings it forth into visible reality. If you continually plant seeds of lack, saying, "I never have enough money, life is unfair, success is beyond me," the soil of your subconscious mind will faithfully bring forth circumstances that match those declarations. Yet if you plant words of abundance, "I live in a universe of plenty, all I desire flows to me, every day I grow richer in spirit and in wealth," that same soil will produce harvests of prosperity and open doors where none seem to exist. Every great teacher of truth has proclaimed the same principle: speak as if it already is, and it shall be. This is the law of affirmation, the law of creation through language. Words are not wishful thinking. They are commands to the unseen forces that govern life. The subconscious mind, which records every syllable we speak, does not argue, does not debate, and does not filter. It simply accepts. If you repeatedly declare limitation, it accepts limitation. If you repeatedly declare abundance, it accepts abundance. It is no wonder, then, that people who constantly speak of their problems find themselves surrounded by problems, while those who speak with faith and gratitude find blessings multiplying on every side. The vibration of words does not stop at the mind. It travels into the atmosphere itself. Just as a radio signal travels unseen yet clearly carries music, so do your words carry your reality into the unseen and call back experiences that match their frequency. When you declare, "I am blessed, I am abundant, I am guided by divine wisdom," you tune yourself to a higher frequency, and life responds in kind. Opportunities appear, connections align, money flows, and ideas surface. Speak the opposite, and the opposite appears. The world outside is a reflection of the world spoken from within. Even science now acknowledges that sound carries power to shape matter. Experiments have shown that vibrations can alter physical form, rearranging patterns in water, sand, or even living cells. If this is true on a material level, how much more true must it be in the realm of spirit and consciousness? Your words are instruments of design. Each time you speak, you sculpt the invisible substance of life into form. You are never powerless. You may not control every circumstance, but you control the language that summons them. With every declaration, you are writing the script of tomorrow. This is why careless words are so dangerous. Joking about failure, speaking lightly about poverty, or repeating negative phrases may seem harmless in the moment, but the subconscious does not know the difference between a joke and a decree. It records everything as truth. To use words casually is to use fire casually. It can warm and illuminate, or it can burn and destroy. But when you use words with intention, with faith, with vision, they become the greatest allies you will ever have. They stand as soldiers in the unseen, carrying out your commands and returning to you the reality you have shaped with your tongue. Therefore, the introduction to the power of words is not a gentle lesson, but a declaration of responsibility. Life is echoing back to you what you have been speaking all along. The poverty you have spoken has come to life, the wealth you have denied has stayed away, the health you have questioned has wavered, the joy you have dismissed has hidden. Yet, in the same breath, the moment you begin to speak words of power, life will rearrange itself to serve those words. This is not superstition, it is law. And when you begin to wield it consciously, you realize that you have held the key to your fortune, your freedom, and your future all along, within your very own words. The spoken word is not a mere vibration of air passing through the lips. It is the invisible brush that paints the canvas of reality. Every word carries with it a spark of creative energy, a force that does not fade after being uttered, but continues to ripple outward, shaping experiences, drawing circumstances, and summoning opportunities into being. From the dawn of creation, the universe itself was spoken into existence, and that same law of expression flows through every human voice. To speak is to command, to set in motion the hidden forces of life that align the unseen with the seen. Words are not idle sounds. They are the living seeds of destiny. When a word is spoken with belief, it carries the authority of truth. The atmosphere receives it, the subconscious absorbs it, and the divine responds to it. Every statement is an act of creation, whether we recognize it or not. The person who speaks continually of failure is unknowingly creating more failure. The one who speaks of poverty is planting the seed for more lack to appear. And yet, the individual who dares to speak of abundance, of health, of divine timing and perfect outcomes will call forth those very things into form. Life does not question the word, it obeys it. It does not argue, it fulfills. Think of the spoken word as a command issued to invisible servants, eager to fulfill the order they are given. If you tell them to build bridges of success, they will go forth and do so. If you command them to dig ditches of despair, they will obey just as faithfully. The power does not lie in whether the word is positive or negative. The power lies in the act of speaking itself. That is why careless words are so costly. Every utterance is like a decree written into the great book of life, and once spoken, it begins to take shape in the outer world. To master the spoken word is to master the creative law of life itself. The mind and the tongue are inseparable allies in this creative act. Thoughts unspoken remain seeds lying dormant, but when spoken aloud, they are watered with breath and activated with life. The spoken word brings thought from the invisible into the visible, from the abstract into the tangible. The tongue is the bridge between imagination and manifestation. It is the channel through which dreams pass into reality. For this reason, one cannot afford to speak without awareness, for every declaration is a building block in the unseen structure of tomorrow. Even science, though often blind to spiritual law, has begun to glimpse the truth. Experiments show that sound waves can alter physical matter, shaping patterns in sand, crystals, or water. Words, being sound imbued with intention, do more than alter patterns. They summon entire realities. The cells of the body respond to words, the atmosphere responds to words, and opportunities align according to the vibration carried in words. A word of healing can ignite health. A word of hope can restore strength. A word of fear can weaken the body, and a word of doubt can close doors that faith would have opened wide. The creative power of the spoken word is multiplied when it is charged with emotion and conviction. A lukewarm statement falls lifeless, but a word spoken with fire, with certainty, with unwavering faith, strikes the invisible realm like a lightning bolt. It leaves an imprint that must manifest. To say, "I am abundant," while secretly doubting produces little, but to say it with the authority of one who knows it to be true, even before the evidence appears, is to release a decree that no power can resist. The universe bends to conviction, not hesitation. The invisible responds to certainty, not doubt. This is why affirmations are not empty rituals, but sacred acts of creation. Each time a person speaks words of abundance, health, peace, and prosperity, they are chiseling away at the old patterns of lack and fear, and carving into the substance of life a new reality. Repetition engraves the declaration into the subconscious, and once accepted there, it becomes law. The subconscious does not argue, does not reason, does not reject. It accepts whatever is impressed upon it with feeling, and it works tirelessly to bring it forth into form. The spoken word is the tool that impresses the subconscious with the patterns of destiny. When we begin to understand that our speech is not casual but creative, we gain a profound sense of responsibility. Every conversation becomes an act of shaping reality, every word an instruction to life itself. To say, "I cannot," is to shut the door to possibility. To say, "I can," is to fling it wide open. To declare, "I am poor," is to write a law of poverty across your life. To declare, "I am rich in every way," is to set wealth in motion toward you. The tongue is a rudder that steers the ship of life, and wherever the word points, there the vessel must go. In truth, the spoken word is a mirror of divine power, given to each individual as a gift. We are creators not only in thought but in sound, shaping the world with every utterance. The walls of lack, fear, and limitation are built with words, and with words they can be torn down. The bridges of abundance, faith, and success are built with words, and with words they can be crossed. To awaken to this power is to realize that every sentence is sacred, every declaration is a prayer, and every utterance is a seed of the future. When we speak, we are never merely talking. We are creating, commanding, and shaping the life that awaits us. There are moments in life when a single sentence has the power to shift the entire direction of destiny. Words, when combined in the right order and spoken with the right spirit, carry an authority that far surpasses their simplicity. The world has been changed countless times, not by lengthy speeches or endless explanations, but by one powerful line that echoes through hearts and commands reality to respond. A single sentence has the hidden ability to cut through layers of doubt, to silence fear, to awaken faith, and to call forth forces that lie dormant until summoned. It does not take volumes of language to unlock doors of opportunity or to break chains of limitation. It only takes one sentence, spoken with clarity, faith, and authority, to ignite a revolution within the soul and in the circumstances surrounding it. This hidden authority does not lie in the complexity of words, but in the conviction behind them. A sentence that is uttered casually has little effect, but a sentence declared with certainty becomes law. The unseen realm listens attentively when words are spoken with authority, and it rushes to fulfill the command. The subconscious mind, the silent servant within, records every syllable and goes to work immediately to align outer circumstances with inner declarations. When a sentence is spoken with faith, it does not linger idly. It becomes a decree that moves both the inner and outer worlds into harmony with its truth. The power of one sentence lies also in its ability to bypass resistance. The human mind often argues with long explanations, questioning, doubting, and analyzing every detail, but a single, strong, affirmative statement cuts through all resistance like a sword through fog. It leaves no room for debate, no space for hesitation. For example, saying, "I am one with infinite supply," does not invite the mind to negotiate or argue. It establishes truth as fact, leaving no space for contradiction. The shorter and more precise the sentence, the deeper its roots sink into the subconscious, and the faster it bears fruit in the visible world. Throughout history, men and women have spoken single sentences that reshaped nations, inspired movements, and ignited faith in generations. These were not lengthy arguments, they were declarations. A sentence can carry vision so vast that it lifts the hearts of millions, and yet it can be so simple that even a child can repeat it. This is the hidden authority of the spoken word condensed into its most concentrated form. It is the lightning strike rather than the slow, burning flame, immediate, undeniable, and impossible to ignore. The hidden authority of a single sentence is also magnified by repetition. When spoken once with faith, it plants a seed. When spoken continually with unwavering belief, It waters that seed until it becomes an unshakable tree. The subconscious, though powerful, is also impressionable, and it is through repeated sentences of truth that it is reprogrammed to accept abundance instead of lack, faith instead of fear, victory instead of defeat. A single sentence, faithfully repeated, has the power to erase years of negative conditioning and replace it with a new pattern of thought, which then produces a new pattern of life. The magic of a single sentence is that it not only influences the speaker, but also transforms the listener. When spoken aloud, it carries vibration into the atmosphere, altering energy fields, uplifting those who hear, and attracting opportunities that match its frequency. A person who continually speaks one powerful sentence of prosperity finds that others are drawn to them, circumstances open in their favor, and wealth seems to flow in unexpected ways. The hidden authority does not lie in the words alone, but in the combination of sound, vibration, and faith that infuses them with living energy. It is important to understand that this power is always neutral. It responds to the intention of the speaker. One sentence of fear can summon disaster, while one sentence of faith can summon miracles. The law is impersonal, obeying whatever is spoken with conviction. That is why mastery over language is mastery over life. By choosing a single sentence of power and speaking it as truth, an individual steps into the role of conscious creator rather than passive observer. They cease to drift with the tide of circumstance and instead command the tide to carry them toward their destiny. The hidden authority of a single sentence rests in its nature as both a key and a command. It is a key because it unlocks doors that the intellect cannot open. It is a command because it directs the forces of life to obey. It may seem simple, almost too simple, and yet it is in this simplicity that its greatness lies. The most profound truths are not complicated. They are clear, direct, and undeniable. When spoken, they do not ask, they declare. They do not beg, they command. They do not wait, they create. Every person holds within them the power to speak such a sentence, to choose words that align with abundance, joy, success, and divine favor. The moment it is spoken with faith, life begins to rearrange itself in response. Doors open, paths clear, opportunities appear, and circumstances shift. A single sentence may look small on the surface, but hidden within it is the authority of creation itself. Spoken with conviction, it becomes a decree that heaven and earth must obey, and in that moment, wealth, health, and success are not merely possibilities, they are inevitabilities. Wealth, though often thought of only as coins, bills, or possessions, is far more than material substance. It is an energy, a vibration, a living current that moves through the universe, seeking channels of expression. Just as water rushes to fill empty spaces, wealth flows to meet the vibration that matches it. Words are the carriers of that vibration, and certain words, when spoken with faith, conviction, and expectancy, resonate on the frequency where wealth already exists. This is why wealth responds not to every utterance, but to those words that are aligned with abundance, gratitude, and divine law. Words are magnets, and wealth is drawn to the magnetic pull of those declarations that affirm its presence rather than deny it. When a person continually speaks of lack, using words like "I cannot afford this," "I never have enough," or "money always escapes me," they are sending out vibrations of scarcity. Wealth, which is abundance by nature, cannot harmonize with such a vibration. It recoils from it, not out of cruelty, but because like attracts like. Scarcity words summon scarcity experiences, while words of abundance summon abundance experiences. When someone declares, "I live in a universe of infinite supply," or "money comes to me in perfect ways," the vibration is lifted into harmony with the frequency of wealth. Suddenly, wealth recognizes a match, and it begins to flow toward the one who has spoken. Words act as signals, much like a radio station transmitting into the atmosphere. If you tune into the frequency of lack with your words, you will only receive experiences that echo that lack. If you tune into the frequency of prosperity with affirmations of wealth, you align yourself with opportunities, ideas, and circumstances that embody prosperity. Wealth does not respond randomly. It responds with precision to the language that calls it forth. The spoken word is the dial by which you choose which station you are tuned into, the static of poverty or the clear, strong signal of abundance. Wealth also responds to words because words carry authority in the unseen. The subconscious mind, which governs so much of what manifests in daily life, is programmed by repetition of language. It does not argue, it does not analyze, it does not reject what is spoken with conviction. It accepts it as truth and begins to create conditions that support it. When you say, "I am wealthy, I am prosperous, I am open to divine supply," the subconscious records it, and life begins to organize itself around that command. Conversely, when you say, "I am broke, I can't get ahead, nothing works for me," the subconscious obeys with equal loyalty, reproducing lack over and over again. Wealth responds to words because words shape the inner blueprint, and the outer world merely mirrors what has been impressed within. There is also a spiritual law at play. Words are not idle expressions. They are decrees spoken into the fabric of the universe. The divine response to faith, build words as commands. When you speak as though abundance is already here, you are not asking for it, you are aligning with it. Heaven and earth move to fulfill that decree because it is spoken in harmony with divine order. Wealth, being part of that order, flows naturally toward the one who speaks in certainty. This is why wealth often seems to avoid those who beg for it, but rushes to those who confidently declare it as already theirs. It is not arrogance, but alignment, not wishful thinking, but spiritual law. Another reason wealth responds to certain words is the emotional charge behind them. A statement made half-heartedly carries little power, but a sentence spoken with passion and deep belief vibrates far more strongly. Words infused with gratitude, joy, and certainty radiate a signal that is impossible for wealth to ignore. To say, "I am abundant," with doubt is like whispering into the void, but to say it with fire, with gratitude as if it were already true, sends out a vibration that calls wealth instantly. Emotion is the fuel, and faith is the spark that makes words alive. Wealth also responds to words that are consistent with action and identity. A person who declares, "I am a magnet for money," and then lives in expectation, generosity, and gratitude, builds an identity that matches those words. Life mirrors that identity, sending wealth to confirm it. But a person who speaks abundance while living in fear and hoarding in doubt creates a contradiction, and the power of their words is weakened. Wealth answers most strongly when words, beliefs, and actions are in alignment, when the inner declaration and outer expression are one. The hidden truth is that wealth is always listening. It is always present, always seeking a way to manifest, but it waits for the command of words that invite it in. Those who know this do not waste speech on complaints or declarations of poverty. They guard their tongue as a sacred tool, shaping it into a key that unlocks abundance. The universe is impartial. It will echo back whatever is spoken. The difference lies in whether the words carry scarcity or supply. Wealth responds not because it favors some and withholds from others, but because it is bound to obey the vibration of the words it hears. To speak abundance is to call abundance. To speak poverty is to call poverty. And in that simple, undeniable truth lies the power to change every circumstance, simply by choosing words that summon the wealth already waiting to flow. Belief and faith are the invisible foundations upon which every word of power stands. Without them, words fall flat, empty shells that echo in the air but fail to penetrate the unseen. With them, however, words become living decrees, infused with a force so magnetic that they draw wealth, health, opportunity, and success directly into the life of the one who speaks. Belief is the soil, and faith is the water. Together, they give life to the seed of the spoken word. A sentence, no matter how powerful it sounds, cannot take root unless it is planted in the fertile ground of belief and nourished by unwavering faith. Belief shapes the inner blueprint of reality. Every human being lives not according to external circumstances alone, but according to the deep convictions held within the heart and mind. If a person believes that wealth is difficult to obtain, that money is evil, or that prosperity belongs only to others, then even the most eloquent affirmations will struggle to manifest. The subconscious mind will reject them, clinging instead to the older, stronger belief. But if the belief is shifted, if the heart embraces the truth that wealth is a divine inheritance, that supply is infinite, that abundance is natural, then every word spoken in alignment with that belief carries extraordinary creative power. It is belief that gives words their foundation, anchoring them so that they do not drift away as wishful thinking, but instead become seeds destined to bear fruit. Faith, on the other hand, is the force that activates belief. It is the energy that moves unseen mountains, the assurance that what is spoken must come to pass, even when no evidence yet exists. Faith is walking into the invisible with confidence, declaring as true that which has not yet appeared, and refusing to be swayed by doubt or delay. Words spoken in faith carry a tone that cannot be denied. They vibrate with certainty. They do not beg, they command. They do not ask timidly, they declare boldly. Wealth, being responsive to vibration, rushes to meet the sound of faith because it recognizes in that vibration a match to its own abundance. One of the mysteries of life is that doubt cancels the power of words as surely as faith ignites them. A person may repeat affirmations of wealth every day, yet if beneath those words lies a heart that secretly whispers, "This will never work for me, nothing ever changes," then the affirmation is stripped of its force. Doubt poisons the soil where the seed of the word is planted. It creates confusion in the subconscious, sending mixed instructions that delay or block manifestation. Faith, however, clears the path. It speaks with one voice, one tone, one unwavering certainty. It says, "This is mine now, and nothing can take it from me." Such faith compels the unseen forces of life to organize themselves in obedience. Belief and faith also determine the emotional charge behind words, and it is this emotional charge that makes them magnetic. When someone says, "I am prosperous," but says it without feeling, the words may reach the air, but they do not reach the unseen. But when the same words are spoken with joy, with gratitude, with conviction, as though the prosperity were already present, the words come alive. They radiate a frequency so powerful that the world cannot help but echo it back. Faith fuels emotion, and emotion amplifies the creative power of words. Together, they send out a call to which wealth cannot resist responding. It is also important to recognize that belief and faith are not built overnight. They are cultivated. Just as a muscle grows stronger with use, belief grows firmer with repetition, and faith grows bolder with practice. Each time a word of abundance is spoken and an opportunity appears, faith is strengthened. Each time gratitude is expressed and blessings multiply, belief is reinforced. Over time, the inner conviction becomes so strong that even apparent obstacles cannot shake it. At that point, words no longer feel like hopeful statements, but undeniable truths. And when truth is spoken with faith, it manifests with remarkable speed. Faith is not blind, it is visionary. It sees beyond appearances and recognizes the abundance that already exists in the invisible. To live in faith is to live as though the unseen were more real than the seen, as though the promise were more certain than the present evidence. When a person speaks words of wealth with such vision, they align themselves with the creative law of the universe, which always responds to certainty. The unseen realm bends to the voice of faith because it carries the authority of knowing. Belief and faith, therefore, are not optional qualities in the creation of wealth through words. They are essential. They are the hidden power that turns a simple phrase into a decree that heaven and earth must obey. Without them, the tongue may speak endlessly and see little change. With them, even a single sentence can unlock doors that seemed forever closed. Belief sets the foundation, faith provides the fire, and together they transform every word into a living force that draws wealth immediately and abundantly into being. Resistance and doubt are the invisible walls that stand between a person and the life of abundance they are meant to live. They are not built of stone, yet they are stronger than iron for those who allow them to remain. Every affirmation of wealth, every declaration of abundance, every spoken word of prosperity can be weakened if resistance and doubt are allowed to linger in the heart and mind. To release them is not only necessary but essential, for the spoken word cannot fulfill its creative purpose while it is chained by hesitation and disbelief. Resistance often appears in subtle forms. It may show itself as fear, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of being unworthy. It may rise up as skepticism, whispering that words cannot possibly change reality, that affirmations are foolish or naive. It may manifest as guilt, the belief that wealth is selfish or that abundance belongs to others but not to oneself. Whatever form it takes, resistance acts like a barrier, blocking the natural flow of supply that is always seeking to reach us. Just as a dam stops the river from flowing freely, resistance stops wealth from entering life, no matter how many affirmations are spoken. The river is full, the supply is abundant, but the wall of resistance prevents it from reaching its destination. Doubt is resistance's closest companion, and it works in even subtler ways. A person may speak words of prosperity with the lips, but if the inner voice immediately answers back, "But what if this doesn't work? What if nothing changes? What if I'm only deceiving myself?" then the vibration of the word is neutralized. Doubt drains the power of faith, replacing certainty with hesitation. It creates an unstable signal, and the universe responds not to what is said occasionally, but to what is believed consistently. Doubt is like planting a seed of abundance, and then digging it up each day to check if it has sprouted. The seed cannot grow under such treatment, and neither can words of power take root in the soil of a doubting heart. Releasing resistance and doubt is not about ignoring reality, but about choosing which reality to magnify. Every person faces circumstances that appear limiting, but those circumstances are not the final authority. The greater truth is that unseen supply is infinite, and doors can open where only walls seem to exist. To release resistance is to stop bowing to appearances and instead give power to the unseen law of abundance. It means no longer rehearsing stories of lack, no longer repeating words of defeat, no longer entertaining thoughts of limitation. It is the conscious decision to let go of every idea that contradicts prosperity and to align fully with the truth that wealth is natural, available, and ready to flow. One of the greatest tools in releasing resistance is awareness. Often, resistance hides in the background of thought, operating without notice. By paying close attention to words and inner dialogue, one begins to uncover where resistance dwells. Every time the mind says, "I can't," "I never," or "it's impossible," resistance reveals itself. In those moments, the power lies in replacing such words with declarations of possibility and abundance. The process may feel awkward at first, for the old patterns are strong, but with persistence, the new words begin to take hold and resistance weakens. Awareness shines a light on the hidden enemy, and once exposed, it loses much of its strength. Gratitude is another force that dissolves resistance and doubt. When one begins to give thanks for the blessings already present, no matter how small, the mind shifts from lack to abundance. Gratitude opens the heart, softens fear, and invites more good to flow. It is impossible to feel deep gratitude and doubt at the same time, for gratitude anchors the spirit in trust. Each word of thanks is like a hammer striking the wall of resistance until it finally crumbles, allowing the river of supply to rush forward. Faith-filled action also helps release resistance. Words spoken with belief gain momentum when accompanied by actions that align with them. If one declares abundance but continues to act as though lack is the only reality, resistance grows stronger. But when the declaration is followed by bold steps, generosity, and expectancy, the energy shifts. Action demonstrates belief, and resistance cannot survive in the presence of true conviction lived out. Releasing resistance and doubt is ultimately an act of surrender. It is letting go of the need to control every outcome and trusting the higher order of life to provide in perfect ways. Doubt demands evidence before it believes. Faith believes and then sees. Resistance clings tightly to the known, fearing to release its grip. Faith lets go and makes room for the greater supply to flow. To release resistance is to unclench the fist and open the hand so that wealth may be received. To release doubt is to silence the voice of fear and amplify the voice of certainty until nothing else can be heard. When resistance and doubt are dissolved, words spoken in faith have free passage into the unseen. They move swiftly, unblocked, unhindered, and unopposed. The creative power of the spoken word fulfills its purpose without delay, for there is nothing left to stand against it. Wealth responds immediately, opportunities appear effortlessly, and abundance flows naturally, because the only barriers that ever stood in the way have been released. The dam is broken, the river flows, and life becomes the visible reflection of the truth that was always waiting to be spoken and believed. When a sentence is spoken as a plea, it carries with it the vibration of lack, the tone of desperation, and the energy of uncertainty. It says, in effect, I do not yet have, I may never have, and I must beg in hopes of receiving. But when a sentence is spoken as a command, it shifts entirely. A command does not beg, it declares. It does not hope, it knows. It does not wait for approval. It enforces law. The words spoken as command carry the authority of truth, resonating with the universal order that responds not to weakness but to certainty. This is the great difference between pleading for wealth and commanding it. One vibrates with scarcity, the other vibrates with abundance. The universe, impartial and exact, answers the vibration of command because it recognizes it as alignment with divine law. When a person begs or pleads for wealth, they are unknowingly affirming its absence. Every time they say, "Please let me have money, please give me abundance," they declare that they do not already have it, and the subconscious mind records this lack as truth. The outer world then reflects that inner state, keeping the experience of lack alive. Pleading does not open doors. It reinforces the idea that the doors are still closed. But when one speaks a sentence as a command, I am one with infinite supply, and money comes to me now, it affirms possession. It affirms authority. It speaks from the place of already having, and thus the subconscious accepts it as reality, immediately moving to shape life according to that decree. A command is effective because it carries identity. It is not spoken as though something external must be convinced, but as though the speaker is already the rightful heir of what they declare. Just as a king does not beg for his crown, but wears it with authority, so too must the individual speak wealth into being from the position of ownership. To command is to assume the role of creator rather than supplicant. It is to recognize that the spoken word is not a request to the universe, but an activation of the law that is already in place. The law of abundance does not need to be persuaded, it needs to be invoked. The reason command works while pleading fails is because of the vibration each carries. Command resonates with faith. It says, "This is mine now." Pleading resonates with doubt. It says, "Maybe someday, if I am lucky or worthy, it will come." The difference is subtle in sound, but vast in power. Life responds to certainty with speed. Wealth appears to flow effortlessly to those who speak with authority because their words carry no contradiction. But for those who plead, the energy of lack is stronger than the words themselves, and so life mirrors back more lack. This does not mean that command is arrogance. True command is not born of pride, but of alignment. It does not come from trying to control life through force, but from speaking in harmony with divine truth. To say, "I am one with infinite supply," is not arrogance. It is acknowledgement of eternal law. To say, "Wealth is mine now," is not selfishness. It is recognition that abundance is the natural state of being. The command does not take from others, for supply is limitless. Instead, it opens the channel for wealth to flow through the speaker in perfect ways, under grace, for the good of all. When the sentence is spoken as command, it also transforms the inner posture. The one who commands stands tall, confident, expectant. Their energy aligns with the outcome they declare. They live as though it were already true, walking in gratitude and assurance. In contrast, the one who pleads walks in worry, anxiety, and waiting. Their energy contradicts their words, and so the manifestation falters. The inner stance of command is magnetic. It pulls opportunities, people, and resources toward itself. The inner stance of pleading repels them, for it radiates need rather than fulfillment. Command is also timeless. A plea often looks to the future. "One day, may I have what I need." A command speaks in the present. "It is mine now." The subconscious responds only to the present tense. It does not understand someday or in the future. Therefore, the language of command is always immediate, always now. This is why such sentences carry hidden authority. They align perfectly with the way creation itself operates, which is always in the present moment. When words are spoken as command, they become law in the life of the speaker. The unseen realm, hearing the vibration of certainty, obeys without delay. The energy of wealth, always abundant, begins to arrange circumstances, align connections, and open doors to fulfill the decree. To speak as command is to unlock the true purpose of the spoken word. To speak as plea is to misuse it. The power has never been in begging the universe for scraps, but in commanding the law of abundance to flow freely, immediately, and perfectly. A single sentence, spoken as a command, carries more weight than 1,000 pleas, for the universe recognizes authority and responds to it without hesitation. To live in the frequency of abundance is to make a conscious choice to dwell in the vibration where wealth, prosperity, and limitless opportunities naturally exist. It is not merely about repeating affirmations or speaking words of prosperity. It is about embodying the energy of plenty so fully that life can do nothing but mirror it back. Abundance is not something to chase, for chasing implies separation. It is not something to wait for waiting implies delay. Abundance is ever present, always surrounding, always seeking to express itself, and those who align with its frequency become living magnets to draw it into tangible form. The frequency of abundance begins within. Every thought, feeling, and word emits a vibration, and that vibration creates a corresponding reality. When one entertains thoughts of lack, fear, or unworthiness, the frequency becomes heavy and restrictive, shutting off the flow of supply. But when one chooses to think abundance, to speak abundance, to feel abundant gratitude for even the smallest blessings, the frequency rises and life aligns to match it. This is the great secret. Wealth does not begin in the bank account, but in the inner atmosphere. The outer is always the shadow of the inner, and to change the shadow, one must change the light source within. Living in the frequency of abundance means carrying a consciousness of enough. Instead of constantly dwelling on what is missing, the focus shifts to what is already present. Even in modest circumstances, there is always something to appreciate, always something that reveals the presence of supply. The air that fills the lungs, the sunlight that warms the face, the food on the table, these are all symbols of an abundant universe. Gratitude magnifies them, and through gratitude the signal of abundance grows stronger. The heart that gives thanks for the little opens wide to receive the greater, while the heart that complains about the lack of much closes itself to even the blessings already held. When one vibrates at the frequency of abundance, opportunities flow naturally, often in ways that defy logical explanation. People are drawn, doors open, synchronicities multiply. It is not chance, it is resonance. Just as a tuning fork causes another of the same pitch to vibrate, so too does the frequency of abundance attract all that harmonizes with it. This is why some people seem to live in perpetual good fortune. They have chosen, consciously or unconsciously, to align themselves with the energy of wealth, and so wealth recognizes them as a fitting home. Abundance is also a mindset of generosity. The one who clings tightly to what they have vibrates with fear of loss, and that fear invites loss. But the one who gives freely, who shares joyfully, declares by their actions, I live in an overflowing universe. Their giving becomes a living command to the unseen. Replenish me, multiply me, expand me, and the law, faithful and exact, returns to them pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The hand that opens to give cannot help but remain open to receive. Living in the frequency of abundance is not about ignoring reality, but about choosing which reality to magnify. Scarcity may appear in circumstances, but abundance is always the greater truth. To dwell on scarcity is to reinforce it. To dwell on abundance is to transform it. It is the choice between tuning into the static of limitation or tuning into the symphony of infinite supply. Every word spoken, every thought repeated, every feeling nurtured is like turning the dial of a radio. When the dial rests on abundance, the music of wealth flows without interruption. Faith plays a vital role in sustaining this frequency. There will be moments when appearances seem to contradict the truth of abundance. Bills may come, opportunities may appear delayed, circumstances may seem discouraging, but in those moments, faith insists on staying tuned to the higher frequency. It refuses to let fear pull the dial back to scarcity. It continues to declare, I am supplied, I am prosperous, I am aligned with infinite wealth, until the outer world must yield to the inner conviction. Faith holds the frequency steady until manifestation arrives. To live in abundance is also to walk in joy. Joy is a high vibration that harmonizes perfectly with prosperity. The individual who delights in life, who laughs freely, who enjoys the journey, radiates a magnetic field that draws wealth with ease. Misery contracts, joy expands. Worry pushes opportunities away. Celebration invites them in. Every smile, every act of delight, every expression of joy is an open door through which abundance can enter. Ultimately, living in the frequency of abundance is not about effort but alignment. It is not about striving to force wealth into being, but about resting in the truth that it is already here. The universe is lavish, generous, and overflowing, and those who live in this frequency become conduits for that overflow. Their lives become demonstrations of what happens when one tunes fully to abundance and refuses to shift back to lack. Wealth, health, opportunities, love, all flow to them naturally, for they have chosen to remain in harmony with the song of infinite supply that is always playing. Transforming inner identity is the foundation of lasting abundance, for no amount of affirmations or declarations can override the picture one holds of themselves within. Every person lives from the image they carry in the secret chambers of the mind. If that inner identity is rooted in lack, struggle, or unworthiness, then even when wealth appears, it will quickly slip away, because the outer life can only reflect what the inner life sustains. To step into true prosperity, the self-image must shift. The individual must no longer see themselves as poor, as struggling, or as undeserving, but as one who is naturally aligned with infinite supply. This transformation is not superficial. It reaches to the very core of belief and self-perception, and once it takes place, abundance begins to flow as naturally as breath. The inner identity acts as a magnet, attracting experiences that match its frequency. A person who secretly believes they are unlucky with money, who tells themselves stories of constant failure, will unconsciously sabotage opportunities, repel generosity, and overlook doors that open before them. Their actions will always match their inner script, even if they are unaware of it. But when that inner identity changes, when they begin to declare and believe, "I am favored, I am prosperous, I am worthy of abundance," their behavior shifts. They see opportunities where none appeared before. They take bold steps they once avoided. They welcome wealth instead of pushing it away. The identity has changed, and so the world responds in kind. Transforming inner identity requires persistence because the old self-image clings tightly. It is formed through years of repetition, words spoken over and over, experiences interpreted in the same way, beliefs handed down through family or culture. These layers of identity may feel permanent, but they are not. They are impressions on the subconscious mind, and just as they were created, they can be recreated. Every new affirmation, every declaration of truth, every act of living as though abundance were already real carves a fresh pathway in the subconscious, reshaping the identity from lack to wealth. Visualization is a powerful tool in this transformation. When one consistently imagines themselves living abundantly, not as a fantasy but as a reality, the subconscious accepts that image as true. The mind does not distinguish between imagination vividly felt and experience lived. Both leave the same imprint. By seeing oneself already surrounded by prosperity, walking confidently in wealth, enjoying the fruits of supply, the old image of poverty dissolves. In its place, a new identity is born, one that expects wealth, welcomes it, and holds it with ease. Language plays a vital role as well. The words spoken daily reinforce the identity. Each time a person says, "I can't afford that," or "money is hard to come by," they fortify the old self-image of lack. But when they shift their language, "I am supplied, money comes to me with ease, I live in a generous universe," they reinforce the new identity of prosperity. Over time, these words seep into the subconscious, altering the inner atmosphere until the outer world must conform. The spoken word is the chisel that reshapes the stone of identity, carving out the image of wealth where before only poverty stood. Emotion deepens the transformation. Saying the words mechanically is not enough. They must be spoken with feeling. When one declares, "I am abundant," and allows themselves to feel the joy, relief, and gratitude of that truth, the subconscious accepts it with greater power. The emotion acts as fuel, driving the new identity deeper into the soul. The more often abundance is felt inwardly, the more natural it becomes, until it is no longer an effort but simply the way of being. Living in alignment with the new identity requires acting as though it were already true. This does not mean reckless spending or false appearances, but rather carrying oneself with confidence, making decisions from trust instead of fear, and walking each day with the quiet assurance that supply is always present. Small actions taken in faith reinforce the inner shift. When a person chooses generosity over hoarding, gratitude over complaint, confidence over worry, they embody the abundant self-image. Each choice affirms the identity, and each affirmation deepens the transformation. As the inner identity changes, external reality inevitably follows. Opportunities begin to align, doors open, people appear, and circumstances shift to reflect the new vibration. What once seemed impossible becomes natural, because the self-image that once blocked prosperity has been replaced with one that invites it. Life cannot help but reflect the belief held most strongly within. To transform the inner identity is to rewrite the script of existence, exchanging the story of lack for the story of abundance. This process is not instantaneous, yet it is certain. Just as a seed does not bear fruit overnight, but grows steadily when nurtured, so too does the inner identity blossom when fed with affirmations, visualization, gratitude, and faith. In time, the old self-image fades like a shadow at sunrise, and the new identity of wealth stands clear and unshakable. From this place, abundance is no longer something to chase or strive for. It is simply the natural reflection of who one has become. The transformation within makes the transformation without inevitable, and life reveals itself as the mirror of the abundant self now firmly established. There comes a moment when knowledge must move beyond theory, when inspiration must translate into action, when the seed planted in the mind must finally be spoken into existence. That moment is now, and it begins with a single sentence, a sentence that carries the vibration of authority, the certainty of faith, and the command of divine alignment. This is not a sentence to whisper timidly, nor a phrase to test with hesitation. It is a call to action, a decree to be spoken with full conviction, for the words themselves are the vessels through which unseen wealth flows into visible form. The call is simple. Speak the sentence as a command, not a request. Say it with the knowledge that it is already fulfilled, with the inner assurance that the law of abundance responds instantly and unfailingly to the tone of authority. The action is not complicated, but it is powerful. Stand, breathe deeply, and center yourself in the awareness of infinite supply surrounding you now. Let every ounce of doubt fall away, for doubt has no place in this moment. With your heart lifted, your mind steady, and your spirit open, speak the sentence aloud. I am one with infinite supply, and wealth flows to me now. Say it slowly, with intention, letting each word strike like a hammer against the walls of limitation. Speak it as though you were issuing a decree to the universe, for indeed you are. The universe is attentive, listening not to idle wishes, but to the certainty of command. This call to action is more than words. It is the embodiment of a new identity. When the sentence is spoken, you are not merely reciting syllables. You are stepping into alignment with your true nature. You are affirming that lack is an illusion, that struggle is unnecessary, that wealth is your divine inheritance. Each time the words are spoken, they strengthen the truth within, reshaping the subconscious and dissolving the patterns of fear and resistance. Repetition carves the new reality into your being until it no longer feels like a declaration, but like the most natural truth in the world. The sentence must not remain confined to moments of ritual. It is a living command to be carried into every circumstance. When doubt arises, answer it with the sentence. When fear whispers that supply is scarce, answer it with the sentence. When appearances suggest limitation, answer them with the sentence. It is both shield and sword, both anchor and compass. It steadies the heart and directs the mind toward abundance, no matter what external conditions may appear. Life cannot resist a word spoken with such authority, for the law is unbreakable. What is affirmed in faith must appear in form. The call to action is not passive, it requires engagement. To speak the sentence is to align thought, word, and action with abundance. It is to live in the expectancy of its fulfillment. It means walking through the day with the posture of one who already possesses wealth, making decisions from trust instead of fear, expressing gratitude for blessings seen and unseen. Each action taken in harmony with the sentence adds power to it, reinforcing the vibration until manifestation arrives swiftly and unmistakably. To speak the words yet act in contradiction weakens their effect, but to speak and live them makes them irresistible. Do not underestimate the power of persistence. A single sentence, spoken once, plants a seed, but a single sentence, spoken daily with conviction, waters that seed until it breaks the soil and grows into visible reality. The call to action is not to wait passively, but to continue declaring, believing, and aligning until the harvest comes. Just as no farmer questions whether a seed will grow once it is planted, so too must you refuse to doubt the power of your words. You do not beg the soil to produce fruit. You trust the law of growth. Likewise, you do not plead with the universe for wealth. You command it through the spoken word, trusting the law of abundance to respond unfailingly. This call is not only for yourself, but also for the world you touch. When you live in the authority of this sentence, you radiate abundance to others. Your prosperity uplifts, inspires, and creates ripples of wealth, consciousness around you. By speaking the words with faith and acting in alignment, you become a demonstration of the truth that abundance is available to all. The call to action, therefore, is not merely personal. It is collective, for your transformation becomes a light that guides others into their own. Now is the time to act, not tomorrow, not when conditions seem perfect, but now. The sentence waits to be spoken, the law waits to be invoked, the wealth waits to flow. Do not hesitate, do not doubt, and do not reduce the power of this moment by treating it lightly. Stand in your authority, speak with conviction, and know with certainty that the command you give is already fulfilled. The call to action is clear. Take the sentence into your mouth, release it into the air, believe it in your heart, and live it in your life. Wealth is not delayed, it is not withheld. It is unlocked immediately by the words you dare to speak in faith.